It's not as bad as you think. Hello folks, Ashley here. It's been 6 months since I picked up this Dell XPS 159560, and I thought I would do a quick update for those of you who might be interested. I have to say the short high level is that I really love the system. I love the TV16 docking station. The Dell's been wonderful. Really no major issues. Couple little quirks. Okay, first let's talk about these plastic pieces here that I put out here on the table. These little plastic pieces here are the plastic end cap for the Thunderbolt cable, the end plug here. You can see here that on the end cap here, the ground is fully showing, so it's silver. I have handled this when inserting and removing without issue. I don't recommend anybody at home do that. You know, that's my sort of disclaimer type thing. I've been using it for the last, let's see, I've had this for about 6 months, so I'd say about 4 or 5 months, you know, and it has been fine. You know, there's been no issues with it. It doesn't look as nice as when the, you know, nice little Thunderbolt cap is on there, but it's been working fine. So aside from the broken plastic end cap on the cable, how has the setup been working for me? I would say the short answer of that is fantastic. It's been really wonderful. I noticed back probably 4 or 5 months ago, there was like a random disconnect and reconnect of the docking station. Now I'm not really sure why that happened, but it happened when I sat down next to the laptop where I was on the couch, and I use a very non-standard use case with this docking station where this is on the couch and the cable jiggles quite a bit. It's a very short cable, so my guess is I've really been working this cable quite a bit, enough actually for the plastic to come off, and you know, overall the data integrity handling, which I'll talk about in a second, has been 100% wonderful. But I did notice that random disconnect and reconnect. Haven't seen it since, and so frankly, as long as my data storage is working fine, I have no issues. So I largely use the TB16 docking station for 2 purposes. One is for USB connectivity as well as the LAN connectivity, and I also use it with an external monitor, but I haven't really been using that a whole lot. I did use it quite a bit initially with the external monitor. It behaves wonderfully, but I would say my biggest use case with the docking station is multiple external USB hard drives connected simultaneously with the LAN, the hardwired LAN, which I use pretty much all the time when I'm, you know, doing I/O to the internet. And all of that stuff has worked flawlessly. I haven't had any data loss issues or anything. So I have a 1 terabyte SSD on this 9560, and it can fill up really quickly with video files shot on the DSLRs and stuff like that. And so what I do is I copy, you know, projects when I'm finished to offline storage. And those for me are pretty standard external USB hard drives. And so I've copied gigabytes and gigabytes, if not terabytes of data to offline USB drives via the TB16. And occasionally I have to grab stuff from archival footage on the external hard drives, and I will do that through the TB16 and copy them to the SSD on here. And that whole workflow of going to and from the laptop to the external storage has been flawless. No data loss at all. So I'm very impressed with that. So yeah, maybe the cable is short, the plastic cap broke off, but overall very impressed with that. With regards to the external LAN port on here, it's worked flawlessly for me. I mostly use it with my home broadband. It's not the fastest internet connection, so I don't think I'm driving the external LAN to its fullest capacity, but to the extent that I am using it, it's been wonderful. When I got this unit about 6 months ago, I noticed it didn't come with a fingerprint reader because I made a mistake on checkout. I didn't check the option when checking out, and that's probably because I had gone to the site like a number of times using the checkout wizard just to see the options available, but I was more focused on higher level options that were available that I was comparing to some other laptops. And so by the time it came for me to make a purchase, I think I just glossed over options, and some of the options are listed and they don't have a choice. They just show you it's included in the laptop, and my guess is I saw fingerprint reader and didn't notice that there was an option to select it. I really don't know exactly what happened there, but when I got the laptop and noticed it didn't come with a fingerprint reader, and I saw other people saying, oh, I got the fingerprint reader option, I then noticed it was an option, and I probably could have called Dell and asked if I could exchange or paid for an upgrade after the purchase, but I bet that would have required me to actually return this laptop, and I was so impressed and excited to work with it, I just didn't want to part with it. So I just said, you know what, I'm gonna have to live without, the fingerprint reader, and I have. It's been fine. I have my other security options that I use, but the fingerprint reader can be convenient for certain kinds of security validations. And so I just mentioned that in case, you check out and you want the fingerprint reader, just make sure to look for that option before you do your final checkout there. Okay, so what about touch? Well, touch works wonderfully, but I never use it. I mean, I got it, but I never use it, and I kind of expected that was going to be the case. I didn't want to not get it and feel like I was missing out, and I could have done without it, and I think there would be a little savings. I think the touch was an option, if I recall correctly. So anyway, I throw that out just in case. It works fine. I've used it maybe once or twice in the last 4, 5, 6 months, something like that, and it was only just sort of like, well, let me just close this app with, a touch, and that was pretty much it. I feel like if I were doing something like creating kiosk applications with this laptop or working on cell phone application, maybe touch would be helpful in that case. But right now I'm not doing any of that, and for the pro amateur video editing, which has been my primary use case with this laptop, touch has just never really come into the picture as a convenient thing. In fact, if anything, touch is something I would really want to disable on here, because if I'm video editing, there's a greater chance I'll want to scrape off some dirt or something on the display so I can see something. And when you do that, you really don't want to rub something and then have it perform some video edits that you didn't expect. So I'm not saying there's anything wrong with touch, I just don't use it. It's not in my use case scenarios at this time. I'm generally not a trackpad person. I like to use the mouse and keyboard, especially if I'm at home, but the times that I have used this trackpad, it works beautifully. It's a lovely little trackpad. It's got a nice little click response there, which I really love. The other thing that I use quite a bit on here is the SD card reader. The SD card reader on here is wonderful. I never have any issues with it. It just works wonderfully. And very often I'll have multiple SD cards, so I have an SD card reader that I plug into the USB port, and I can read from the SD card here to offload video at the same time as I read off of this SD card reader over here, the built-in one. And it's not that as if it's a big feat that it's doing that successfully, but I just throw it out there that I do that and have no issues at all. The I/O from both of those cards at the same time to bulk read all that data off at the same time, instead of doing it serially via the single built-in SD card reader, just saves some time because it can just read both cards at the same time, and I don't have any I/O issues, no weird, removal things or anything like that. Probably expected to be that way, but I thought I'd mention it just in case that's a use case any of you out there would appreciate. So regarding the webcam and its location, the location of the webcam is down here, which means it has a bottom-up angle, and it's really not the most becoming angle. It's like as if you're in a Citizen Kane Orson Welles film or something, and it has sort of an eerie or overpowering kind of angle because, it's basically shooting the video up your nostril, and webcams are not exactly the most becoming, photographic situations that you can imagine, and so you need everything you can get to maybe make it look okay, and the last thing you want is an angle that is bottom up. And that's my personal opinion. Maybe some of you want to do the looming person kind of look on the webcam, and then more power to you. So I keep that pretty much covered up all the time. If I were in an airport or something in a pinch, you know, I could use this, no problem, right? Anyway, it's got an odd angle, and, you know, just keep that in mind. So what I'll do when I want to use webcam on the laptop is I'll just hook in this external webcam. You know, that works fine for me. So I don't really use the built-in webcam. When I first bought this unit about 6 months ago, I went through all the drivers on the Dell website and manually downloaded everything because I found there were a few things that needed me to manually download them and install them, and I don't know why that was the case, but I did that. And I also went to the Intel website to get a driver there. That was a special case scenario for an issue that existed way back then, which probably doesn't exist anymore. And I did a bunch of things to get drivers in the right state on here, because most of the drivers I had on here when I got the unit were a little bit dated. They were kind of old, and the auto update feature on here apparently wasn't updating everything. And so what I did is, after I did all that, everything was working fine. Since that time, I have not done any manual updating at all. And the Dell Auto Update application has been functioning, and I've received a few BIOS updates as well as some other updates. Very few updates, but the auto updater that comes with the laptop has been doing all of them, and pretty much this thing has been rock solid. I have had no issues at all with the drivers. Now, I mostly do video editing with 1080p footage, and I think 4K is a little harder on the system, but I did some tests a few months ago when somebody that had the same exact system was having some issues, and they were editing 4K footage. Now, I don't know exactly what their project was like or how elaborate it was, but I have to say I actually did a similar test to what the person was doing, and I did not notice the same issues. It handled the 4K footage that I used on here without issue. Now, I have not actually used real 4K footage. I actually upscaled my 1080p footage to do that test, and I'm not a 4K video editor, so I'm not applying that use case fully to this laptop, and I can't speak on it beyond what I've just said. But what I can say is that I've done some pretty hefty video editing on 1080p projects in the last, 5-6 months, and I gotta say, this thing has been rock solid. There have been little dips in performance or stuttering. Usually those are in cases where I've cleared the cache and it's got to reconform audio or build up the cache again. The stuttering and delays can happen in other situations, such as when I'm doing a lot of After Effects, but even in those situations, I'm very, very impressed with how well this is performed with After Effects and Premiere Pro. I think those applications, that's not related to this video, I just love them. I love the versatility, and I love using them, and this is really kind of a dream laptop for me to have when using those applications. It's like it's a marriage, those two. It's imperfect at times, but they get along. So anyway, so that's it with my basic use case with this laptop and my overall experience. Alright, that's it for my 6-month update on the Dell XPS 159560, as well as the Dell TB16 docking station. I hope you'll come by to see some other videos sometime. If you like this video, like it and all that jazz. If you haven't subscribed, I hope you'll subscribe. And for those 100 and some odd subscribers I have, thank you so much. So encouraging. Some of those comments also as well, just really encouraging. And it's lovely. So thank you guys so much. Okay, have a great rest of the week, and take care of yourself and enjoy life, and hope to see you back here soon. All right, thanks. Bye.